Well, meanwhile, we've all got the Platinum Jubilee to look forward to, and goodness me, don't we need something to celebrate? That being said, I give with one hand and take with the other. This royal tour for the Prince of Wales and the Duchess of Cornwall, quite a short trip. And their first stop, quite sobering as well.
It is a short trip. It's only 3 days. I mean, usually when we go on these tours, it's sort of 7-8 days. Canada, they tend to get a good reception. Now, the Prince of Wales, I think he's been there 17 times. This is going to be the Duchess of Cornwall's 5th visit. They haven't been for 5 years. There are going to be some sober and humbling elements to this tour. Part of it is about a harmonious relationship with the Indigenous community. And we know there have been problems. We saw the statues toppled last year. We know there are tensions there. I think, as we saw when the Prince of Wales went to Barbados to see it decommissioned, he does have a very sensitive touch. He does seem to be very much in touch with the people that he's visiting. So I don't think he's going to shy away from any difficult issues. I think he will address them. I think you're going to see compassion and sensitivity. I think when they move to Ottawa, you're going to see a really positive reception. Every time I've been to Ottawa with the Royals, the flags are out, the royal fans are there. But I think what's interesting is they're not avoiding those Indigenous communities. This is about how to work better with them. And I think a big spotlight being on climate change and, you know, future generations.
What we've been hearing from royal commentators all morning is that the mood towards the monarchy in Canada has been dropping over the years. You've got a government in power that isn't particularly, not unfriendly to the monarchy, but just isn't really fussed about the ties between the monarchy and Canada, and that really, once the Queen goes, it could start a process whereby Canada starts to think carefully about its relationship with the monarchy. Maybe it doesn't need the monarchy.
Well, I think these are conversations that are not just happening in Canada. They're happening in Commonwealth countries around the world. I mean, that recent poll is interesting, isn't it? That 51% felt that the country should not remain a monarchy in coming generations. And more concerningly for Charles, 34% support the idea of keeping a constitutional monarchy under his rule. That's only 34%. I think it's inevitable as we approach this Jubilee with an ageing monarch, we are going to be having these conversations, not just here in Britain about the future of the monarchy, but around the Commonwealth. You do speak to Canadians. They love that affiliation with the Crown. They will be waving their flags. They'll be out there for the Jubilee celebrations. Then you'll speak to perhaps a younger demographic who wonder why we need to have a monarchy. But I would argue that you might speak to a similar demographic here and they might ask the same question.
It's funny, the blurring, though, isn't there, between the monarchy and we all have this affection for the Queen, sort of the world's grandma, if you will. But the monarchy is an institution. You know, once the Queen dies, the King will be Prince Charles. Why does the affection necessarily have to go when the Queen goes?
Well, I don't necessarily think it will. Okay. I don't necessarily think it will. And I think sort of none of us are quite prepared for the sense of loss and shock and grief that we will feel when the Queen passes. And I think having Charles, who's been around for as long as any of us can remember as well, the longest-serving Prince of Wales, we may look to him for that continuity, for that reassurance. And you have to weigh it up against the alternative. Is there a real appetite for a republic here? Is there enough of an appetite for them to lose Charles as the next head of state in Canada? Not necessarily, but clearly these polls reflect a changing in mood. And I think the most important thing is that the monarchy is in touch with that, and it's how they handle it, it's how they move forward and connect with the public.
I was going to say big shoes to fill for Prince Charles. It's a big challenge.
It is, but I think he is up for the challenge. And I think when you see him go out and do what he's going to do in Canada, it's not just about wanting to be the next head of state and continuity. He wants to make a difference.